A small confession before this video starts. When I made this pipe, I did actually make it a bit too short. I cut off too much at this end too quickly without really thinking about it, and then when I went to make the flange on this end, I forgot to put on the union, and that meant that the pipe came out a bit too short. It's not kind of crazy, but I just wanted to be honest that making these things, I'm certainly not perfect. This video is just an example of what you can do, you know, if you're messing around, and I kind of did it more as a proof of concept rather than a specific pipe that I was going to use on the car. But just to say, to be honest, you know, we all make mistakes, and this is no exception. Greetings, my avid repairers. Well, today I'm going to attempt to make the hard rear brake pipe from the rear of a Land Rover Discovery 3. This is the right hand side rear pipe, and it goes between the flexible hose that is on the caliper up to the flexible hose that goes then up again to the solid line that goes to the braking system. So I have bought a number of pattern parts over my time. This one is no exception, that although it's only a couple of years old, it is pretty corroded in here where the plastic has got a little bit damaged on the outside. It is corroded. It's probably hard to see, and this end's a little bit better. So basically this end here would go into the hose that goes into towards the brake caliper, and then it goes up to the pipe that goes to the top. So the exposed bit at the top seems to suffer from corrosion, so this is more corroded than the bottom one. So because of my newfound excitement about making brake pipes, I'm going to see if I can replicate this and actually make a replacement one rather than keep buying these. I don't need it now because I had to do the repair before, and I was under a lot of pressure to repair something, so I hadn't made the brake pipe that I used this time. But I'm going to make this one and see how well it goes. And I also find with the pattern parts, it's probably a little bit like worse shape than the original. It's not quite there, and it's a little bit shorter, so the bit at the bottom here should clip under the suspension arm. There's like a clip that it should clip into. So what we will need for our repair is a brake flaring tool that does DIN bubble flares. We will need some lovely DIN 10mm brake pipe connectors, which I've got there. We will need a pipe bending tool, which I've got here, and we will need some pipe, which I'm going to measure out and then cut, and then we'll see what we've got. So first of all, we need to measure the length of our old pipe. I find a good way to measure the pipe is just to get a piece of rope or string and then just follow the pipe round, obviously keeping hold of everything as you go so that it doesn't slip. Follow the contours round, and then we've got our length that we can roughly guide to. So that is our length. I'm just going to write a blue mark on there so I know how long it is. Otherwise, if I let go, I won't be able to work it out. Then we take a ruler and we measure. It's about 52. The pipe I'm using for this is copper nickel pipe, which is supposedly better because it doesn't rust. It comes coiled up, so you have to actually bend it straight in order to do what you want to do with it. So it can be a little bit tricky, but it's quite flexible, so you can bend it by hand. So this is a small pipe cutter. Once you're happy, give it a good tighten and then start twisting. Takes a few, takes a little bit of time to do this. It's not an instant like you do it round once and it cuts off, so be patient. And if you do it carefully and tighten up, you shouldn't have any issues. So just keep being patient and it will get there. This is one of those things that if you rush it, you're just going to end up with really horrible pipe ends, which will make your life a lot harder. So the thing about using a pipe cutter is it gives you quite a nice uniform end. I'm going to deburr that, and I'll deburr the other end. If you cut with a hacksaw, it's much harder to get a straight cut. You don't want any nasty little bits just flaking off when you're doing the flare, so that's why you deburr the ends. So we use our pipe bender to recreate the more complicated bends on this. Some of them like this you could actually do by hand. It's that because the pipe's not bent very far, so we might do that. I'm just going to have a little think about how it looks. The other thing that comes with this particular, pipe bending tool are these clamps, which you can, if you want, you can clamp the pipes parallel to each other, so it makes it a little bit easier to create the. You can clamp the pipes next to each other, so it makes it a little bit easier to actually match the shape of the pipe that you're copying. So, you know, I can show that as well. We might do that to start with. So you put your original and the copy. You can see that you can kind of see where the pipes bend and they kind of change direction. So it's quite a helpful little tool for reference, actually. So in this case, we can actually bend it by hand. So we could bring it down from, so we've got to look where we've got. So we've got 2 bends in this at the moment. So we can bring it down there like that, and then got this other bend here. So you do get to the point obviously here where we've got the things in the way. So the other way of doing the pipes is to hold them next to each other nice and closely. So once you've done one bend, so you match them, do one bend, get the pipes so that they're really nice and close together, and then just make sure the bends are in the same place. Because it's a complicated 3D shape, obviously it's going to take a bit of finessing to get it right, but you kind of start to see that with the bendy pipe you can pretty much get a good match quite quickly. One of the useful things with this tool is it's got two slots for pipe. One is for actually a wider pipe, but if you're copying a complex pipe, I find that it's actually really useful that you can put the new pipe in, match it up where the bends are, and then create the bend when you're directly on the pipe. So it helps with like the 3 dimensions of it. So that's the first bend. Now we've got to get down to the second bend, which is just a little bit further down. Right, so after a lot of bending, fiddling, manipulating, unbending, rebending, you get something that is pretty much the shape that you want. And this is where we're at now. So I'm going to do the flares, and I'm also, I think, in order to give the plastic coating, I'm going to see if I can put a bit of heat shrink on it. Because this pipe shouldn't corrode, it won't matter if there's a little bit left at either end, like on this one. So we could probably have a bit more space. Because if we're going to have to put the flares on, so I wonder whether to do the flare at this end first, then put the heat shrink on, and then do the flare at the other end, because that's the end that didn't get very corroded. So we'll do that. So the ends of these are going to be the DIN, the same as this. So this is a DIN button head. So that's what the Land Rover has on it. Always make sure you know what kind of flare that you should have on the pipe, because the SAE and DIN are different, and obviously if you put the wrong one on the wrong thing, then it won't seal properly and it'll probably leak, and it's dangerous because it's on your braking system. Once you're happy with the pipe that you've made, it's ready, time to put the flares on. So I'm going to use my flaring tool to make the flares. Obviously before you make a flare, put on these the nuts, bolts, whatever you call them, the connectors. So in this case we're making a DIN button flare, which is using this die, which can do either DIN or button flares. First of all, you put in the end stop so that it allows you to put the pipe in and get it correctly positioned into the tool, and then you tighten up these 10mm bolts on top. So this is 17 and these are 10, and then it allows you to position the pipe so that there's the correct you can hear it stop, so there's a correct gap to make the flare. So you tighten up, tighten it up nice and tight so the pipe can't move. So once you start to get it tightening, you can feel that the pipe stops moving. And this has got to clamp it firmly in place. If you don't clamp it firmly in place, then the pipe might push out as you drive in the die, and that would cause a problem because then the flare would not be correctly made. So make sure it's nice and tightened up. Then you get your take out the stopper, which sometimes comes out by hand nice and easily. Then you get your die, make sure you put some special grease on it which comes with the tool. Then you screw in the die to start with until it meets the end so it stops. Then you use your spanner or wrench to do this up until it stops. So it's obvious when it's done because it just stops turning and becomes too hard to turn. There you go, nice and tight. Just make sure we've got the proper flare. Then you undo this, withdraw it, put that safely to one side, put the lid on this, otherwise it tends to flip over and have things fall into it, and use your 10mm spanner to undo the bolts on top. You have to separate this so you've got enough room to withdraw the flare, and then you should end up with a really nice DIN flare on there. See, it's hard to see on camera, but it's there, looking really good. Wipe the grease off, just check that you're happy that it's formed correctly. That looks really good. And then you've got your DIN threaded connector, which is correct because the DIN ones have a flat bottom, so you know that you've got a nice tight seal once you tighten that up, and it's got the correct length of feeder on it, so that this is going to go in correctly. Obviously you can compare it to what's on the other one, and broadly speaking, other than the other one's been used, so it's been a bit squashed, they are the same. Good stuff. And then because we wanted to recreate the coating on the outside, I haven't actually got enough pipe, what do you call it, heat shrink to do the whole pipe, so we'll probably do it in 2 bits. Start with black. So I'd say feed this on. It's obviously going to be a little bit of a tricky thing to get it going because it's gone around a complex bend, but the reason we've done this flare first is because the other pipe was more corroded at that end. So you just got to feed this on, and then it will go if you keep feeding it. In the end, there you go. Keep going. So I'm using a heat shrink that isn't a lot bigger than the pipe, just so we get a nice tight fit, and it's going to protect. I suppose that the protective sheath on there is to stop this getting damaged by rocks and stones rather than it corroding, because it's at the rear of the vehicle. So a nice bit bit of heat shrink going on here. Once it's around the complex bend, you can push it along nicely until it's at the end. And then you've got to give it a little bit of leeway so you can put the knot on and off. So you can roughly match that. So it's only a little bit on there. Push it up. So I don't think you need a lot. And you're going to get your hot air gun and shrink the heat shrink. Then same again for the top one. Don't forget to put this on around the right way and on so that it's there. And then you've got your tool which you will line up. There you go. After a bit of light swearing and huffing and puffing and fiddling around and bending the pipe backwards and forwards until you kind of get it broadly in the shape that you want, you end up with something that is a very good approximation of the pipe which you took off the vehicle, and it's kind of ready to go back on. Because the pipe is more flexible than the pipe that came off, you've got a little bit more give and it will generally fit nicely. I've done longer pipes. This one I've just done as a Sunday afternoon thing because I wanted to see if I could actually recreate this pipe, which I think I've pretty much done a good job of. I've got my heat shrink on it to keep it protected, multicolored, so it would look quirky on the vehicle, but there you go. So it's got the same protection, so it just shows you can actually make your replacement parts if you want to. Obviously it's much easier if you've got the original part to copy, and then you've got this nice copper nickel pipe that we've used that shouldn't go rusty as quickly. So I'm just finding myself a little bit disappointed with pattern parts. Seem to be you know, I know that you should buy genuine Land Rover, but I don't know necessarily if you can buy genuine Land Rover parts this or the cost of them, because they generally, Land Rover parts are very, very expensive compared to the pattern parts which most factors sell. The pattern parts, not the original Land Rover. So there you go, you've got your pipe all ready to go, and fingers crossed it would fit.